Hello everyone, my name is Dean, let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is May 28th, 2025, and Bitcoin is on the verge of breaking very important levels of support, confirming our larger read on the markets. I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about what or how that affects altcoins and what we can expect from altcoins in the immediate short term. If that all sounds interesting to you, then watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a great day. Let's get started. All right, I'm going to start with the weekly time frame outlook today. And I mentioned this in a Twitter post, a Twitter thread that I made, but I'm going to repeat it here. Many people struggle with reading this move. You know, we've been calling for Bitcoin topping at this level and saying, you know, this is a very likely top, and that the technical analysis wasn't complicated. It wasn't hard to read. It's just, it's quite obvious actually. So then it begs the question, why are so many people getting this wrong? Why are so many people, big accounts, you know, all kinds of influencers telling you to buy Bitcoin right now? Why are so many people saying if you're not buying right now, you're messing up? Why are so many hedge funds? Why are so many sort of institutional investors and you know, third parties, governments buying the top? It's really wild because you would think, you would guess, you would imagine that they would have someone that is able to do some version of analysis to say, okay, this is a good place to buy, this is a good place to sell. Or do they not care? Or do they just not know, right? So why are people buying tops? Why do people buy tops? That's actually what I want to kind of address really quickly. So why do people buy tops? And I've mentioned this before. People buy tops because it's a proof of concept. So the idea is, you know, the dollar's not doing so well, and we're looking for a flight to safety. We're looking for somewhere to put our currency so that it doesn't depreciate, it appreciates. Okay, precious metals, maybe not, I don't know. This cryptocurrency thing, Bitcoin, maybe that's a good idea. Okay, it looks like it's at all-time high. I don't want to be left behind. Let me go ahead and make the move. I don't want to complicate things. That's quite literally the calculus. That's what most people think. That's how most people think. Okay? So they buy the top because it's proven. You can't say Bitcoin's not doing so well. You can say it made an all-time high. People love that concept. Because it made an all-time high, you know, if you're not going to buy, you're going to get left behind because it's the most it's ever been. And anybody who's ever bought it is in profit, quite literally, right? This is why people buy tops. And this is exactly why you shouldn't buy tops, okay? Most people fail to realize that tops are not for buying, but for selling. It's not that hard of a concept, but you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. So, and then I want to segue. So we've been calling for a top for quite some time, and Bitcoin's kind of been stuck at this level, going side to side, albeit making our bearish reversal pattern, head and shoulders pattern, but still going side to side and looking like it was going to do something at this point. Why do we have so much activity, so much drawn out activity? Why does it take so long for something that is clearly overvalued in the moment, clearly looking to reverse course? Why are tops so slow? Why are distributions as they are? Well, one, because of what we just said, because lots of people like to buy them, because they get pushed into the FOMO, the fear of missing out of, oh, I didn't invest in this before, but it's at an all-time high, and I want to this time be on the right side of this trade, so I'm going to buy, right? People do that, and so more and more people doing that, more and more people, like the people on Twitter that most people follow, saying, hey, Michael Saylor just bought X amount of Bitcoin, you know, I'm gonna buy this amount of Bitcoin, or look, all of the inflows, the president of the United States is buying more. Like, are you literally not going to buy more? Are you gonna ignore all this news? This is why it takes its time, because more and more people buy, because and also remember, at the top of a trend, I talk to the clients about this all the time. When you get to tops of trends, people are talking about it. It's in the zeitgeist. It's very popular, right? When the trend first starts, very few people know about it. Wave 3, more and more people talk about it. Wave 4, the pros get out right here. The pros get out right here at wave 4, right before you get into that final wave. And then a lot of people, a lot of retail, a lot of like non-discerning investors get in at the top, and then it dumps and the cycle starts all over again. Once it dumps, you'll see, once we hit our targets, first target and then every subsequent target, people will get more and more skittish until we get down to between 60 and 70. They'll be like, no, I'm not into this. This is a scam. It's quite literally the opposite. So I wanted to say that just to say, if you are thinking, well, Dean did say it was a top, but it's been taking mighty long. And if you're, for instance, trading that advice, or trading because you also espouse the same views on the price action, don't be discouraged if it takes long. It always takes longer than usual. Michael Burry, when making his big short, what did he say and what did he realize? Tops always take longer than people realize, for those reasons that I articulated just now. He was 100% correct in his trade. It just took a lot longer than he thought to distribute. Okay, so now Bitcoin's at a top, and I said in the title, it's breaking important support levels. What am I meaning by that? Okay, let's go on the 4-hourly time frame and look. Okay, so how do things distribute? How do things reverse course? Well, with reversal patterns, and we know the bearish reversal pattern is called the head and shoulders pattern. So we get up here and we make an initial break right here. That's our A wave. Then we make a secondary break, and now we're in that right shoulder, or the final stage of the head and shoulders. Let me zoom in because I want you to be able to see this. So again, this is the left shoulder, this is the head, this is the right shoulder of this particular head and shoulders bearish reversal pattern. Now, once this breaks down and reaches our initial target, confirming our read of 110, just the initial target, then you form once again another bearish reversal pattern, and so on and so forth. That's what you see. Same thing with bullish reversals. You see a smaller pattern break down into a larger pattern, break down into an even larger pattern, and it continues until the trend finishes. Okay, so we're seeing the important support that Bitcoin is at right now, at around between 106 and 107, not being held. And how do I know that? Because it hasn't broken yet. But why am I saying it is breaching or breaking or threatening? Well, it's because there's no sign of strength at the level. When a level is going to be held, you get an initial break, meaning the second the price touches that level, price responds very strongly, and you get that initial. So right here, when we came down, you get that initial candle. Quickly, buyers step in. What happened here? It's on the 4-hourly time frame. You reach that level, no buyers want to step in. They're exhausted. The buyers have been exhausted. So as an analyst, as a trader, when you see this, a crucial level being hit, but there's no wicks on the high time frames, even on the small time frames, it's likely that what is coming is going to be a slow but sure breakdown of that until you can find more buyers somewhere lower down or higher up, whatever the trend you're looking at is. So this is why it's not a question of if, it's a question of when we break 106, and breaking 106 immediately takes us down to the next logical support level of 100K for Bitcoin. We hit 100K for Bitcoin, just like I said. You then expect a bounce. Why? Because 100K was psychological resistance before. Now it's going to be support when you're above it, triple digit or 6 digits, right? And the fact that price action is showing you there's some support level here, and that is going to be our right shoulder of this bearish reversal pattern, head and shoulders. So this is what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. Nothing's changed from the analysis. It just takes longer than usual. And as an analyst, can you time this? No. So this is what few people understand. Some people do, but a lot of people don't. You can be the best trader in the world. You can be the best analyst in the world. One of the characteristics of corrective price action is the fact that, one, it's unpredictable in how it can manifest. You may know what may manifest, generally speaking. Like we've been saying, we're expecting a head and shoulders. But was I expecting a right shoulder that took 5 times, 6 times as long as the left shoulder? No. The right shoulder I'm talking about is this. So like, this is our left shoulder. Okay, that told me that we were going to get a head and shoulders, right? Right here, I talked about this swing failure pattern right there specifically. So I knew already, even if we made a higher high, we're going to come back down because this is already corrective, okay? And then I know I'm going to get a right shoulder because I have a left shoulder and I have a head, but I don't know how long this right shoulder is going to take. And it takes as long as it takes. So this is kind of the art and the science of technical analysis. There are many things you don't know, but you're fine, or you should be fine, open to how it expresses itself, as long as you can control whatever you can control. If there is anything that you can control in that situation, it's very, very, very complex. But yeah, we finally got our right shoulder. And yeah, that's pretty much it with Bitcoin. Now, how does this affect altcoins? Okay, Bitcoin's likely to go down to our next likely support level of 100K. And from here, that's about a 5 to 6% move down. Okay, that's not all, that's not a ton, but 5 to 6%, that may mean in any, crypto market that altcoins react even more severely. Okay, so we want to now look and see what this Bitcoin dominance chart is saying, because if we're at the point in the cycle where 5 to 6% in Bitcoin means 20% in altcoins, then some altcoins are going to break structure. But when we're looking at this Bitcoin dominance chart, which gives us an idea of how dominant, how much gravity Bitcoin is exerting on the rest of the cryptocurrency market, we're seeing that, okay, maybe 5 to 6% may be 2 to 3% or 4% or even less in some altcoins. And how do we know that? Well, when Bitcoin dominance is going down, the gravity that Bitcoin exerts on the rest of the cryptocurrency market is less. That's basically telling us that altcoins are starting slowly to decouple. Okay, and what we said is exactly what we're seeing in this chart, where we said there's a breakdown on the higher time frame from, let's go on the daily, from this multi-month rising wedge. Okay, a rising wedge typically breaks down, as we know, and the target is the base of the wedge. Okay, so we saw the rising wedge forming. We said at some point in time, this is going to give us a breakdown, more likely than not, probabilistically speaking, and that's exactly what we got. We knew we were getting the breakdown here. This is the confirmation, or sorry, this is not the confirmation. This is the initiation of the move. Right here was the confirmation. So breakdown, retest, breakdown, right? All these corrective patterns happen in flavors of 3, as we know. And so flavor 1 or move 1, confirmation is always the retest. And more importantly, the fact that the retest stopped at the lost level of support now turned into resistance. That was very important. That was our pink box. Okay, the pink box was held. If the pink box holds, then you know this is the next move. That's how you trade, right? That's the idea. You take something that, the probabilities are, here and there, and then you whittle it down step by step. So step by step, we got this, the probability of getting this increases. We get this, the probability of this increases even more. Now it's almost impossible not to get that move. Do you see what I mean? So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Whenever whatever happens here, the consolidation on the small time frame completes, then we get that move down. If that's the case, then we're expecting that whatever Bitcoin does, it's not that Bitcoin's not going to control the momentum of the market. I want to make that very clear. Maybe at some point deep into alt season, Bitcoin can be going down and altcoins go up for a prolonged period of time. But, I haven't seen it. Bitcoin has to at least be stable or even thinking of going in a certain direction before altcoins reciprocate. So, Bitcoin going up ever so slightly for a counter correction, even if it's in a downtrend to between 60 and 70K, it goes up from time to time because nothing goes in a straight line in those counter corrections. And within those counter corrections, you can expect altcoins to pump massively. And the first of those counter corrections is, like I said, when Bitcoin hits 100K. And so even on this first move down to 100K, given that this Bitcoin dominance is already starting to go down, our daily time frame stochastic RSI momentum indicator is cross bearish and looking to break down. The 4-hourly is cross bearish. The hourly it's in oversold territory, but it can continue to go down. In any case, even if we do get a slight move up, we're not expecting a massive pump up in Bitcoin dominance. So I want to take this analysis that may seem quite arcane and, irrelevant. I want to break it down and make it very practicable. What this chart is telling us is, yes, you may recognize the fact that Bitcoin is currently breaking down and it's currently targeting on a high time frame lower levels, much lower levels. But being in altcoins isn't insane. It's not as if Bitcoin dominance is in a massive multi-year uptrend, right? It's not as if Bitcoin dominance is in a massive multi-year uptrend, in which case, if Bitcoin dominance if Bitcoin even thinks of going down, the last place you want to be is altcoins. When Bitcoin dominance is going down, that's alt season. Alts are actually a safe haven because they pump more than Bitcoin does when it goes up, and sometimes retrace less. Sometimes, okay? But I guess proportionally, they're going to go up more than Bitcoin does. So they're going to pump more, retrace more, but still in aggregate, they're going to go up more. So this chart is telling us that it's not crazy to be in Bitcoin right now or in altcoins right now, even though Bitcoin is in that downtrend. Both things can be true at the same time, okay? This is very important. It's a change. It's a fundamental shift in market dynamics, right? We haven't seen this for many, many years. It's completely different. Everything you knew about the cryptocurrency market changes when this trend in market dominance changes. When this chart says it's go time, then it's really, it's a different market altogether. And everybody's saying, oh, all the Bitcoin maximalists and everybody talking down on Bitcoins or on altcoins, they're like thinking, oh, where can I get in? Because it's going to be a marked shift in how the chart or how the trends look, especially as Bitcoin matriculates down to between 60 and 70K, makes those slight retracements. Meanwhile, altcoins are just flying up and down, okay? So that's what we're seeing in the Bitcoin dominance trend. And last but not least, you can see this in the total 3 chart, okay? And this, again, is the aggregate chart for all altcoins minus Ethereum. So what can we see here? Well, with the high degree of probability, you're forming some sort of support level at the midline, at and around the midline of this this multi-week channel, right? You're showing strength. This is a sign of strength up and out of a falling wedge, up and out of a channel, and you broke up and hit the top of the channel. How long is this channel? Let's see real quick. Okay, this is almost a 50-day channel, okay? And you're basically retesting the midline, and you started there, you're holding, you're basically showing strength at the midline of this channel, of this 50-day channel, okay? And it doesn't look like you're about to lose that. So are altcoins just going to dump and die? No. This chart says unlikely. This chart says it's more likely than not that altcoins hold this level. Look, on the 4-hourly time frame, the stochastic momentum RSI indicator is showing indeed that altcoins not only are at support, but they're about to cross bullish on the 4-hourly. So that's the biggest intraday time frame I like to use. On the hourly, they're also in oversold territory. On the daily, they're in oversold territory. So this chart, this crypto total 3 chart is saying altcoins are on support right now. So this also corroborates what we see in the Bitcoin dominance chart. So this is what I'm seeing in the market. I know it's a lot. I know it's kind of like Bitcoin's moving in a different direction than altcoins, generally speaking, and it's not every altcoin, just the altcoins on support. And that's a lot for people to wrap their minds around. People think, oh, if altcoins are going to move, then Ethereum has to move, and XRP has to move, and Solana has to move, and they don't understand an altcoin market that where, you know, things happen in stages, and there's certain things that have already moved, and now they have to correct. For some people, there's no such thing as corrections or happen arbitrarily based off of the pronouncements of some influencer, and you know, no, that's too popular to correct. Like, literally people think like that. So, you know, if you're serious with your analysis, if you're serious with your, you know, reading these markets, you can outperform the majority of the cryptocurrency market. Guys, that's all I have. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. Like, share, and subscribe. If you got value, consider tipping me by Litecoin, Venmo, Cash App, all at the pinned comment below. And if you need one-on-one consultation services, consider my crypto portfolio mentorship and consultation service also at the pinned comment below. I go one-on-one with you for up to 2 hours every month and help you determine entries and exits for up to 5 altcoins of your choice. And also I help you balance your portfolio and make sure that those altcoins that you choose are going to yield sustained gains in the coming bull market. So guys, that is all at the pinned comment below. Check it out. Hope this was good, and let's make some money. Take care. While the world spins without me, arrived at the fork in the road, could turn back, repeat the same story, or march forward and embrace change and reflect upon its glory. I'm a selfish man, therein lies the whole problem. Torn between my actions and the will of my heart. I had to take it all apart to see where I stood as a man, to depart from this world and leave it in his hands. Come on.
Looks like I'm heading for the gold, y'all. Touring on a pothole road, y'all. I get it even if I didn't fit in, winning right up to the end, and like I didn't even know, y'all. I have Pop's genetics, working hard never to get it, like shit or better than letting life get the best of my efforts. Instead I dedicated to bettering my steps, measuring investments, watch me do it to the death, y'all. Run it.